I'm Heidi Henderson, the fossil huntress, and your host for BC's Fossil Bounty. Join in the exploration of the fascinating science of paleontology, that lens that examines ancient animals, plants, and ecosystems, from wee single-cell organisms to big and mighty dinosaurs.
My name is Melissa Kay, and I prepare dinosaur fossils. The first fossil I found was actually a petrified piece of tree, but it was just incredible to hold something that was so ancient. It was amazing because it was part of the story of the whole Earth.
How does one become a fossil preparateur, a fossil restoration technician? And what do they do? These are the folks who take fossils from the field and prepare them for display, for scientific study, and to present them to our eyes in museums. Seeing the boundary of bone to matrix, or where the shelly material gives way to sandstone and shale, takes patience and skill. And the very best fossil preparateurs have those two essential skills, along with a keen eye.
Growing up in Calgary, I lived right on the ridge of Fish Creek Park, and that's where we spent all of our time watching wildlife and appreciating nature and finding animal bones. So I always had a love and an interest for all things nature and natural history. We were very close to Drumheller, so we would go once or twice a year. Drumheller is an amazing hotspot for finding dinosaur discoveries. There have been a number of dinosaurs that come out of Drumheller, and they're all incredible and awe-inspiring. So we would go to Drumheller and see the museum, and I would be the kid who was looking into the prep lab going, oh my God, are you working on real dinosaurs? Like, can you do that? Can I do that? Drumheller was my happy place because I love dinosaurs and they were magical to me. They were like unicorns that actually existed. They were beyond imagination, but there they were, and that's what inspired me. I never really had the confidence to pursue paleontology. My grades in the sciences were really good, but my math grade wasn't very good. So it went from being, boy, I really wish I could do that, to, oh my God, I'm not good enough to do that. So I was pretty good at art. And so from a young age, my parents and my teachers were all encouraging me to pursue my art. And so I did an arts degree instead.
We often think that there's only one path to reach our goals, our dreams. Do you need to take a special program? Are there courses for such a thing? The short answer is sometimes, and they're offered throughout the world. For Melissa, her entry into fossil restoration came through the arts and opportunity. Her passion for paleontology, once given the chance to shine, has led to her mastery of the craft.
I obviously didn't come into this with a paleontology background. I came into it with a fine arts background. Most of my training was on the job, and I feel like I learned an incredible amount in a short amount of time. When we get a dinosaur into our shop, it comes in a big field jacket. It's a plaster jacket, which will have the entire specimen or big chunks of it. As it was found in the ground, it will contain the bones and also the dirt that it's in. That's the matrix that we need to remove it from. First, we're going to consolidate the bones with our field glue so that it can handle being removed. We have a whole suite of glues that we use. First thing to do would be to take the blade and just remove bits of it so I can access the bone with the glue. Usually I use the knife to remove the matrix from around the bone so that I can get at it and add more glue. Once we get it out of the jacket, we can start using something like the air scribe, which is a little more heavy duty, to remove the matrix quickly. We're always gluing as we go. So this is an air scribe. Normally there's a cord here. This is where the air comes in. There's a switch that turns it on and off, and then this little tip at the end, that's what vibrates kind of in and out like that, and it forces the matrix to just pop off. There's always air continuously coming out the front, so it blows the dust out of your way. So if you're trying to get through really tough matrix, or if you want to get through the matrix really, really quickly, that's a good option. It's possible to get more precision with it if you go nice and slow, or I usually prefer to use the blade. That's my weapon of choice right there. This is my actual blade that I actually use at work. About pen size, and it just fits comfortably in the hand, and it's just like writing. It's shading, which will give me a little bit more control, fine-tuning and fine detail. It takes a little bit more time in the beginning once you're getting used to it. If you are using the blade, the dust piles up where you're working. So it's the classic paintbrush. You always see paleontologists on TV brushing with their paintbrush to wipe the dirt away. Definitely we use that in prep, in real life. And then in addition to the paintbrush, I actually really like the nasal aspirator because it just puffs the dust away from the workspace so I can see clearly what I'm working on. Safety gear is important. I always wear my mask. We use all kinds of glues, all kinds of chemicals, and you don't want to inhale the fine particles that are coming off of the matrix and the bone. I hate wearing them, but I wear them anyway because I've had enough things poke me in the eye, pop off the bone and right into my face. So safety glasses always. And that's it. Those are the tools. It's not unusual to find yourself lost in just the beauty of the bone itself. I think it's really thrilling to be able to work on these dinosaur fossils just for what they are.
Once you get a foot in the door with paleontology and begin to really come into your own with fossil prep, the opportunities are endless. Can you prepare a real dinosaur? Oh yes. And if you're lucky enough to work at a museum or for companies like Dino Lab, you get to work on some of the most exciting fossil specimens in the world. From Anzu, the North American oviraptor, to the exceptionally well-preserved bones of the Melbourne Triceratops. And most recently, a juvenile T-Rex, truly world-class specimens all.
I was really excited by my first dinosaur fossil that I got to prep. It was an Ionosaurus vertebra. They were so happy with my work that they put me on the Anzu, which is a North American oviraptor. It is very fragile with very thin, hollow bones, and it was absolutely thrilling. But the project that I'm most excited about, that I'm most proud of, is the Melbourne Triceratops. It was perfect. It was mostly complete. We were just missing the left foot and part of the tail. The bone quality was absolutely incredible. It was beautiful black bone. The matrix was very soft sandstone. It was like digging in the sandbox and finding a dinosaur that was perfectly articulated underneath. Because it was articulated, it was very easy to imagine it as it was in life. So it was really easy to picture the actual dinosaur as I was working on it and form a bond with it, really. I was very attached to that dinosaur. And then once we had it mounted, it was just amazing. Working on the bones individually is one thing, and they all look incredible individually, and then you see it up and you see it life-size, and you imagine it being one thing and it turns out to be absolutely massive, and it was breathtaking. It was bringing you to tears beautiful. Just knowing that this is the best Triceratops in the whole world, and I get to be part of it. It was incredible. We always have amazing things coming through the shop. We have new dinosaurs coming in all the time that we get to prep, and even if we don't get to prep them ourselves, we get to watch them getting done. I'm really excited right now. My current project is a juvenile T-Rex, the exact opposite of the Melbourne Triceratops. It's crumbly and all the bones are melted together. They're bone on top of bone, but it's exactly my idea of a good time. It's really challenging and really rewarding. Right now, we have about a year and a half to complete it. So that's taking it out of the jacket and preparing it and mounting it. We're just mounting the skull right now, and the skull is probably about 2 feet long. Its legs, though, are 9 or 10 feet tall. She's gonna be all legs. Really excited to see that one come together. It's gonna be beautiful.
Some of you have been bit by the paleo bug early on. Collecting leads to prep, as the fossils you find in the world are often encased in matrix, layers of sediment cemented to your beautiful specimens. Prep then becomes a matter of necessity to reveal the ancient life within. But how can you get involved in paleontology as a career? One path is through fossil prep. We've heard from Melissa that it was following her heart and passion that has led to a career she loves. And now that she's entered the prep lab, she spends her days doing something that many of us deeply envy. And more than that, she's training the next generation of fossil preparateurs so that they can be given the opportunity as well.
Going into art was actually the perfect way to prepare me for becoming a fossil technician, because it's actually so similar the way you just sit down to your work and then time just disappears as you're doing it because you're so involved in what you're doing. And then even the act of preparing a dinosaur fossil is really similar. It's less about the creative element and more about the patience and being able to sit down and focus on working on something that many people would find very tedious. It's kind of like coloring in a coloring book, except that the only color you can use is brown, but it looks like a dinosaur at the end, so that's pretty cool. Whether it's the blade or the air scribe, you're holding it like a pen or a pencil, but you're not holding it like you're writing your name, you're holding it like you're shading, and you want to color the entire page a single color. That's kind of what it's like. And then you might go in and add a couple of details here and there. Wherever it catches your eye, you're gonna go back over it with your tool. But I find that that's exactly how I would draw and how I would color, is I look at the big picture and see what draws my eye, and then zero in on the details and get that perfect, and then look at the big picture again. Very similar to my process of drawing. I think the best thing that prepared me for preparing dinosaur fossils is we had an assignment in university where we're each given a square piece of paper, and we had to reconstruct a piece of a poster that our professor cut up, and it all had to look exactly like the poster, and there were no white spaces, and you just have to go over it and make sure it looks exactly right. And it's just the amount of patience. If it doesn't look right, you just have to keep going, and it doesn't matter if you go over the same spot 50 times, it's got to be right, it's got to be perfect. So that's exactly what it's like to prep. You just sit down to it, and the bone comes out of the ground, and then you have to make it look beautiful. If this is a field that you are wanting to get into, the best thing you can do is get experience doing it. So I was fortunate enough to have an opportunity to volunteer at the Royal BC. In their paleo department, they put me in their prep lab, and I was really excited to be working on actual fossil bones. It felt like I had been doing it my whole life, but the best thing you can do is just go do it. Go get experience doing it. The experience of volunteering at the museum and being able to actually get hands-on experience prepping is what made my application so attractive, and that's what got me in. The kind of feedback that I often get from people who are not successful is that if you're the kind of person who would find it boring to sit at your prep station and the scenery doesn't change very much from day to day, you're working on a single bone usually for days, if not weeks, and sometimes even months. So the patience aspect of it is critical, but certainly having an eye for aesthetics is extremely useful, because then you can take a look at the bone that you're working on and be able to say, oh, that looks great, or that looks not quite finished, or I want to get one more little detail over here, or the overall picture of this looks done, or overall it doesn't seem like it's been prepped yet. For someone like me, being able to sit down and focus on what I'm doing, the hours just melt away into nothing, and I have to set a phone alarm to tell me that it's the end of the day and that my shift is over. And that's the kind of person who's going to be successful in a job like this. Someone who can sit down and focus and loves being wrapped up in the details and have a high tolerance for the repetitiveness of it, but also the discovery of it and getting to know the bones and just being excited by the bones themselves. It's easy to forget that you're working on a dinosaur bone, so sometimes you have to take a step back and let yourself go, oh my God, I am holding a T-Rex skull right now. That's amazing. And if that's not enough to motivate you to do a great job, then I don't know. That's Now I'm training the next batch of new hires. We have 3 new hires, and hopefully I'll give them all the tools that they need to do all the projects that we have in the pipes. There's a few really good ones.
I'm excited to see Melissa's skill and specimen list grow. She's a shining example for all citizen scientists to pursue their dreams. She teaches new fossil restoration technicians at Dino Lab, and together they're bringing beautiful specimens that you and I get to enjoy at museums and interpretive centers around the globe.